Okay.
Us again.
Go. Hi.
Becoming a vegetarian is a big step that you can do to become more healthier. It's also a lot better for the environment, and it saves a whole lot of animals' lives. My purpose with this is to hopefully persuade you guys to at least consider a vegetarian diet, or taking out meat somewhat from your diet at least. I've been a vegetarian since I was 19 years old. And I became a vegetarian because of the cruelty aspect of it, but then once I realized all the other benefits of it, it's what really made me stick to it for the long run. Being vegetarian is definitely a more healthy diet than the average American diet. There was an article in The Atlantic that switching to a vegetarian diet will actually lower your risk of heart disease by 1/3, almost instantly, just by getting rid of all of the meat in your diet. And the American Dietetic Association also agreed with that it will lower your risk of heart disease, also a lot of different types of cancers, obesity, and high blood pressure, just by going vegetarian. A lot of people don't know how the meat is processed, which is a huge reason why it's not healthy. There's hormones that are pushed into the animals, growth hormones, that make them grow as big as they can, as fast as they can, so that they can live shorter amounts of time, so they don't have to feed them as long. But all those hormones are passed down to us, and it affects us because we're getting all of these extra hormones as well, and it's really not good for our children. They're also, because the animals are in such poor conditions, they're given a whole lot of antibiotics to keep them healthy through their short lives, and because of that, because they're given all these antibiotics, it comes down to us, and that's how superbugs are formed, and that's how we're getting sick and people are dying from all these things, because we're getting antibiotics just from the meats that we're eating all the time, so they don't work on us anymore. Also, one thing that I noticed about becoming vegetarian is as soon as you become vegetarian, you start focusing more on what you're eating day to day, and you really take into account, and you think about more what you're putting into your body. And you start eating a lot more fruits and vegetables, and you focus on the types of proteins and fats that you're eating, so naturally you just make better decisions. I mean, you can do bad decisions. I mean, Cheetos and Coke are both vegetarian, but for the most part, it makes you think a lot more about what you're eating and all the chemicals and everything that are put into your body. But not only is it a much more healthy option for you, it's also really bad for the environment, all of the pollutants and everything from the factory farms. I mean, if you think about it, if you're just eating crops, they go one step from the plant to us. So there's not a whole lot of processing involved, not a whole lot of anything. But with the meat, you have to grow all of the crops to feed the animal for however long they live, plus butchering them and everything else. It's just, I mean, it's obviously a lot more green to just eat the vegetables and the fruits and everything. Anyway, and there was an article in the Washington Post written by Andrew Jackson about all of the different things about factory farming that is happening on a large scale to the environment. Like the amount of waste that comes from all of the animals. There's so many animals in such a small amount of space that the waste that they produce is more than the land can handle. And normally the waste would just, sink into the ground and fertilize it, and it's a natural process. But because there's so much in one spot, it's literally just setting on top, and then it flushes away, and I mean it covers huge amounts of areas around all the factory farms, which pollutes the waters, and it pollutes all the crops that we're eating, and the smell from it gets into the air, and then there's all these air pollutants from around it. And it's actually causing cancer and a lot of other things like that in people that live around these factory farms. And you have to remember too that these animals are being fed with all these hormones and these antibiotics and everything else. So all of that's in our ground too. And it's just really not good for the environment. And then the main reason, if you don't want to become a vegetarian for health reasons or to save the environment, you should look into the cruelty of what's actually happening to the animals. There's a movie, it was done by PETA, Alec Baldwin, the actor, was actually the one that did it. It's called Meet Your Meat, and it's a horrifying video, but it'll make you definitely not want to eat the hamburger sitting in front of you. It talks about all of the different things that actually go on that you wouldn't think of. I mean, you walk down the road and you ask somebody, you know, where's your meat come from? And they're, you know, they have this typical Charlotte's Web farm idea in their head, and that's just not how it is. It's not how it even kind of is anymore. Like, cows are put in cages that are like the size of the cow, because the fatter they are and the more like the less muscle mass they have, the more tender they are. And plus they're so sick from the conditions that they don't really have the energy to move around even if they were outside, which none of the animals in factory farms ever see sunlight. The chickens are housed in these huge farms where, you know, the chicken itself has less square footage for each chicken than the chicken is big. So they're like literally on top of each other, and they cut their beaks off as soon as they're born, like they would with cutting your toenails, but it, you know, it's cutting a bone off so they don't peck each other to death and things like that. The conditions are just really, really awful, and the chickens are walking around in their own feces, and their feet are like literally rotting off of them. Most of them can't stand. Like your Thanksgiving turkey, no turkeys that are factory farmed anymore can even reproduce, because they've made it so that the breasts on the turkey are so big, because that's what everybody wants, is the white meat turkey breast. They can't physically even reproduce. So it's all artificially inseminated at this point. It's not any better for pigs. Pigs are supposedly like one of the smartest animals, and they literally go crazy. Like, they've done studies on how the pigs go crazy from sitting in these little tiny rooms and just wasting their life away. And actually, if you see a pig full size, like a normal full size pig, they're, you know, like 100 pounds or so. They're pretty big. But in factory farms, they get up to like 600 pounds. That's what they've done with the growth hormones. They've made these pigs so big that they can't even stand up. But that's what we want. It's supply and demand, and they're trying to make it cheap and as much meat as we can get, because that's what we want. And it's not just the meat that's cruel to these animals. There's the byproducts. Like, don't think that just because you're just eating eggs or milk, they're not hurting these animals. Like with a cow, after the cow gives birth to its baby, the calf is taken away instantly and butchered for veal. And then the mother cow is hooked up to a pump, and she's pumped. And there's an infection that you can get in the cow's udder, that's called mastitis, and 80% of all cows have it at all times, all dairy cows. And it's extremely painful, and they're actually making like 4 times as much milk as they would be, you know, if they were just supporting their calf, because of the amount of hormones that they're being injected with. And the same with eggs. It's not like the chickens are put in these little tiny hen houses and forced to produce so many eggs a day, and they actually only live like a few weeks. They make as many eggs as they can, and then they butcher them. It's just a really, really horrible process, and you wouldn't necessarily think it's as bad as it really is. I mean, nobody thinks that, you know, a cow that's grown to be butchered is going to live the best life, but it's a whole lot worse than that. So, in conclusion, not only is becoming a vegetarian better for you, it's better for the environment, it's better for the animals, it's just better all around. So even if you can't go vegetarian all the time, there's like a big trend going on right now with going vegetarian, like a few meals a day or a few meals a week or something like that, just to kind of cut down on the demand side of it. I hope that this will make you consider at least looking more into the vegetarianism and what it's all about, and it's not just a fad and it's not going away, and hopefully this will get changed.
Bye.
Okay.